talking about the Phoenix effect and what I see as the Phoenix effect. This is my opinion, and you may have some different opinion, and that's just fine. But this is how I think the Phoenix effect occurs and how it encompasses all of us. So let me start the screen share and we'll get started. Perfect. Let me move this up a little bit out of the way. Fabulous. Okay, and like I said, today we're going to be talking about the Phoenix effect. So the Phoenix legend, the legend of the Phoenix, is from Greek mythology and the Talmud, the Talmud is actually Hebrew for study, and it is one of the central works of the Jewish people. It's associated with the sun, and in addition, it could symbolize rebirth or being born again, time, resurrection, and paradise. It is a long-lived bird that cyclically regenerates itself. A lot of times people will say it, especially if you've watched Harry Potter, you've probably seen this, where the phoenix engulfs in flames at the end of its life, it turns to ashes, and then from the ashes is reborn. He starts living again. It's actually said that the bird is actually long-lived, like 1,400 years or something like that, before it goes through that metamorphosis of being, of dying and being reborn. So that's kind of what the legend says. Actually, a couple of them that I've actually heard, I've heard that one, and then the other one is that it just turns to ash. It doesn't turn into the flames and turn into ash, but I always see it as it's more powerful of a vision, and it sticks with you when you, especially if you've watched Harry Potter and you've watched that scene where the phoenix erupts into just a brilliant flame and goes into ash and is born again. So the phoenix, actually phoenix, you can attribute it to a lot of different things. You've probably heard of the town in Phoenix, Arizona. There's architecture everywhere. You'll see a lot of times the phoenix with flames underneath it, just representing that whole phoenix legend. You'll actually see emblems. There's emblems in a lot of different places, and it may not necessarily look exactly like a phoenix, like the emblem shown here. It looks more like an eagle or something, but because of the arrows down at the bottom, to me that represents flames. And so that a lot of times it may not necessarily look like a phoenix, but that's the representation that they're going for. And also in coats of arms, you'll see the phoenix represented. So the phoenix actually is everywhere. You see that representation in many different things. And I think it's a powerful statement for what we go through from being born to living, and then the death process or transitioning, returning back to spirit, and then being reborn again. And it's just so interesting, that whole dynamic. And I think it's stuck with a lot of people because phoenix is actually the word, and the meaning and the actual image is just everywhere. So the Phoenix effect, there is that process that is attributed to a phoenix, which is the birth, the life, and the death. We can attribute that to a lot of different things. With ourselves, we can actually see where just different parts of our being, whether it's our teens, we can see where our teens start, where there's the middle part of our teens where we're really kind of going through that transition. And then there is the ending of our teens and into adulthood, into our 20s. We can do that with our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, 50s, and so on. We can just keep going through that time period. And you can see that birth of it, that living of it, and the transition from it. I don't like to be calling it death because I don't believe personally in death. I think there is that thought with the transition part of being death, but it is just a transition. It's just a difference, just a switching of differences. Also with ourself, we can see it when we fall in love. There is the birth of that love. There's the middle section of that love. And during that middle section, there may be a lot of different these, those, and that's that just the living part of it, that aspect of living. And then there could be a death of that love. There could be a transition. It could be a change, but that whole thing can go again with the same person. Even you can go through that different stages, those different stages of love. And with friendship, even that friendship, when you first become friends and there's that instant attraction, that chemistry, and then there's that life of that friendship, and not that it dies. That's why I don't like that word, but it transitions. It could transition into not just being a friend, but being a best friend, or that transition could be that you two just go your separate ways for a while. But there's always that dynamic about it. And even if there's that transition, even if it could be a transition to a best friend, there's that whole rebirth and life and the transition of that again. So it's amazing and interesting how the Phoenix effect actually, is in our daily life. Also, you can see it in days. Each day we are part of that Phoenix effect. When the day starts, and I'm not talking like midnight or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, although it may be for you. But for me, right now, especially during the winter time, I start getting that Phoenix effect, or that waking time, that being born again time during, I think it's about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning is when the light starts coming up. So you've got that light, that birth of the day. You've got the day like it is now at noon here in the Pacific time. And then as the day goes on, like in the picture, there is a sunset, and that is the transition into night. So each day is its own Phoenix effect. Also, you can see it in our life, or in a plant's life, or in an animal's life. You have the birth, you have the life, and then you have the transition. And the transition for us as material beings, we transition back into spirit. And so that the body vessel actually stays on earth and just turns back into that ash, back into that soil, back into that just material thing that lets things be born from, whether it's seeds or plants or grass or whatever it is. It's very interesting. Things become born from that. Also, our spiritual body goes through that being born here on earth in our subtle body, which is some of it is internal, like our the original 7 chakras. That's part of our spiritual being. Also, our soul self resides within that subtle body, which is that energy. You can see that subtle body with the auras and with our extended transpersonal chakras, which are outside of our physical body, our material body. They're not inside, they're outside of our material body. So they're in that subtle body, the energetic body. So you have that, which is living and goes through the life process of here being on earth. And then it goes through the transition process of going back to spirit. After we're done here on earth and we transition, and the material body goes through that death process, or the transition process, which I love to call it because that's all it's doing, is transitioning. We're shedding this material bag, this material body, and we're transitioning back to where we originated, back to spirit. So we do that whole thing, and a lot of us have done it numerous times. And when we're in the throes of that death or transitioning period, a lot of times people will remember during that time, remember that we are spirit, and that calming effect, that knowing that just because it looks like it does, like a dying process, we're actually being in that moment, we're being reborn. Once that's done, we go back and we're reborn anew. So it's a wonderful thing. The Phoenix effect is everywhere, and I know that you've experienced it over and over and over again. So if you experience it again, it's just a matter of that's how the cycles go. It's cyclical. And so by being cyclical, then you're able to see that it's not a one-stop process. This is not just the end of our life. We go on just like the days. The days come and the days go. The days come and the days go. And so it's just a cyclical thing, and it happens. And, it's just how we can experience life on earth. And it's just beautiful. So also, it's interesting also the tarot, some of the tarot cards that I've seen, actually the representation for the sun has a phoenix that's associated with it somewhere, whether it's an emblem on a shield or it's an emblem somewhere around the sun. It's very interesting. And just to let you know what that means, it means warmth, light, success, vitality, and in some circles, it means it makes life possible. So it's very beautiful to see how the Phoenix effect affects all of us, and it actually is everywhere. And so just seeing it, acknowledging it, and realizing that it's going to be moving forward, it's infinity and beyond, and you are just a beautiful eternal being. And I just wanted you to know that. So let me go ahead and stop share on this. Fabulous. I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration of what the Phoenix effect actually means to me. I'd love to hear what it means to you, and if you've experienced it, and if you enjoy it, or if it's kind of stressful. But it is what it is. It is our life. It's our being born. It's our life, and it's our transition. But it's transitioning back to the beautiful beings that all of us and everything originates from, and that's spirit. So you take care. Have a wonderful day. And as always, I'm sending you and yours love, light, and eternal blessings. Take care.